Hi, I'm Bill Kaman, and this is Jack Kerouck, the first employee I ever hired, and the guy that spent his whole career making applause and Adamas guitars. And today we're going to talk about the applause guitar and how it came to be, and how the bottom of the line created the top of the line. That's what everyone knows today, but it was a story that's not been told and not too many people know. Ovation started in '66. It got going slowly, but once Glenn Campbell was on television, it took off. The concept of the applause guitar started around '72, I guess, '73. Ovation was running close to 100 guitars a day, and that factory was pretty full. There was still demand for guitars out there. I mean, we're post-Beatles now, and everybody wanted to play guitar. So we wanted to be able to produce more and give them more Ovation-style guitars that would promote our brands. Ovation was full. Aerospace was given the task to, let's develop a new guitar. We'll copy ourselves before somebody else does. So, okay, Aerospace, you guys, you got the technology, you can come up with something. The goal was a 2 man-hour guitar that would retail for 150 bucks. So we were going for the lower end of the market to get the beginning guitarists that hopefully would eventually move up the line and buy an Ovation. Being this a aerospace project, it was put in the Moosop facility in Moosop, Connecticut, in eastern Connecticut. There was a good workforce down there and a lot of people wanting jobs, like him.
A great time. It was the best job I've ever had.
The first meetings about the applause and the design of it was it obviously is a round back, but what else can we do that's different? Well, let's make the neck one piece. We do that with die-cast aluminum. And it had a center bar that kept it straight. It had the molded in frets, and it had a tang on the back that the neck could be bolted to the body. This all came from aerospace technology.
Yeah, the applause neck looks and feels like a regular wood neck. And it's a foam. It's an 8-pound foam put into a silicone mold, and it cures. You take it out, and they would finish this, and the grain is in the foam.
The master was chestnut. It had the best wood. Remember,
they
went looking for a big chunk of chestnut, and they carved the master.
Yeah.
The silicone mold was the reverse.
Right.
Shoot in the foam, and there's the grain when you pop it out. We sprayed what they call a barrier coat, which is the basic brown. It was a release agent to help pull the molded part out of the mold after it was cured, but it also gave it the base color. And there was wood grain in it, so the brown was there. We'd take stain and rub it on it, and it went down into the grooves from the wood grain in there, and that gave the wood effect. Shot the finish over the top of it.
It's very durable. See, this is almost 50 years old, and I mean, it's great shape. They later on used this foam to build the UK2 bodies, and a lot of guys thought that was a real nice wood guitar. And the frets wore good. The necks were almost perfect, just right out of the mold. Once in a while we did a little bit of a honing, but not often. They were very good. And they even nickel plated the frets, and they wore really well. This one here really was played a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I like to see. Shows you that I like the guitar, like the sound, you know. It wasn't just a closet queen.
The thing was, with the integrated frets, part of the aluminum, the thought was, as if they had fretware, they'd just get another neck, and we would sell a replacement neck or provide a replacement neck. And that would take care of that. You didn't have to do fret jobs, you just get a new neck. Turned out, I think that very rarely happened. And the complaint usually was, but I like my neck, I don't want a different neck. What I think happened was people moved up and they bought another guitar that was usually a step or two higher in the marketplace. Gee, there's nothing wrong with that, especially if they move up to a balladeer or a legend. So I think in fact that's what happened. Although the concept was just sell a replacement neck, I think that effectively never happened.
Yeah, they were fortunate with the tool makers in aerospace. They spent a lot of time with this stuff, you know. A lot of talent.
In fact, Roland Langlois was one of the main tool guys for aerospace, and we stole them. And then he became part of the management team of the musical instrument division in aerospace. He made a lot of this stuff happen.
Oh, he was great. He was up there every day helping us out. What's the matter now?
Yeah.
He's a great guy. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
He had very good finishes, I think, you know, good buffers.
Yeah. And we stole a painter from aerospace who was good at painting. His name was Nick Mackin.
Yep.
And he was the spray guy. And he stayed with us throughout it all, and turned out he grew with everything, and he wound up running the Adamas program. The tops on the Applause guitar was a 3-ply plywood, 100 thousandths thick. Ovation guitar tops were solid spruce, and they were tapered from the front to the back, 140 thousandths down to 100. And that gave part of the sound. Most acoustic guitars are tapered a little bit. Martins were tapered. A lot of the other makers were tapered, but the Applause was musical grade spruce, 3-ply, top and bottom vertical, and the interior crossways to that. There you can see the 3 layers of it. It's much stronger that way, but it also being that thin had plenty of vibration for the sound. And the bracing pattern was developed specifically for this guitar. I remember we went through a lot of iterations. You try this and it didn't work. Try another one, it didn't work. A lot of them we developed just by taking a bowl and cutting the back out of it, and then put the braces on, tape a back on, see how it sounded. Nah, that didn't do it. Take the back off. Jack, make some new braces for this.
Yep, it was fun.
Put them in, put it back, and finally we got to where it sounded about right, and we were comfortable with that, and that's what we used, and it went from there. There were always adjustments over time as things grew, but that's kind of how it started. Traditional guitars have wood kerfing that holds the top to the sides, and that was time-consuming to make because you got to slice it so it'll bend, and then you got to glue it in, and they tape it in, and then route it out and put the binding on, and that was always taped. Or I think Martin uses like a ribbon where they wrap it all up to hold it together. Well, that's time-consuming. So we came up with this inner ring that's basically an L-shaped piece of plastic. This is the second iteration of the rings. The very first ones that drove Jack crazy trying to put it together.
That's not hard to do.
It was all one piece, and the top fit down into this flat spot, and it had a raised part around here with grooves in it that we had to put the paint in. He had to put the paint in.
Yeah.
And put it all together, and then the whole thing snapped into the bowl.
Yep.
That was rather time-consuming and awkward, and eventually this was what came out of that. It was much easier and faster, more efficient, because we had to get to 2 man-hours. And so that this is the design evolved out of it, that the top was molded into this inner ring, and then the inner ring just snapped right into the bowl. And you can see there's not a whole lot of material there, which is good because it allows the top to vibrate. Now, because we don't have binding on there, we came up with the outer ring, and that was glued on the top afterwards. And so you have the inner ring, put the top in it, bang, it was done. And then that all goes together, you glue on the outer ring, and it was put on. And we had aerospace fixtures, pneumatic fixtures. You put it in the holding fixture, push the button, it clamped it.
Yeah, there's a lot of fixtures the tooling guys made from aerospace. They were a tremendous help. It really helped get it going.
It was setting up a new facility from the get-go, and a lot of it, we didn't use normal production methods. And so the aerospace tooling guys would come up and say, well, what do you need to do? How do you put this together? And Jack would say, well, if we had clamps to do this, well, we don't have clamps, we got pneumatic.
They made some nice stuff. Yeah.
We got pneumatic.
Pneumatic ones. To rubber lined.
Yeah.
Get it in the waist, hold it there. And,
yeah. Rather than use all the tape and bind.
They had an air drill set up that would drill both the holes in the bowl at the same time.
Push a button.
Push a button. Yep.
And every time you turned around, there was another one of those instances that, how do we do this?
Yep. The tooling guys were amazing. They were very helpful.
Yeah. They got it done. The heel block was molded into the bowl, so it wasn't an extra piece of wood that we had to glue in. Again, fewer man hours, get it all done at once. We drilled holes through the neck block, and then there were holes in the back of the neck, and they were bolted together. One of the things that takes a lot of time in traditional guitars is inlaying the rosette. And Ovation had taken a step away from that with the overlaid rosette that they had. For the applause, we wanted something that looked a little bit different. And so we had a combination rosette and pickguard. These were injection molded in clear plastic. And then they were hot stamped to get the design on the back side of it. So we put the silver lines, the red lines, then sprayed it black, and then turned it upside down, and it was glued onto the top. And again, very few man hours to get that all put together. I mean, inlaid rosettes are gorgeous, and I like them very much, but it's time consuming. So once we pop the neck on, we put the rosette on. After that, the bridge popped on. We had 2 bolt holes here to make sure that the bridge stayed on, but they were also the locators for the exact placement of the bridge so the intonation would be correct. After the bridge went on, these wire strings went on. And then you had the guitar. And here they are. And I think in the 5 years that they were produced in Musa, we made at least 500,000 guitars. We were up to 170 a day. He was just telling me, Norma was putting on the necks, she did 100 a day, and there were 2 or 3 people putting necks on. There were a lot of guitars there. And they all went out, and we, like any other guitar, had service problems, but very few came back. And there's still, 50 years later, there's still a lot of them out there. You go on eBay today, you'll find at least 6. They're out there, and they're... The thing I've heard a lot about these guitars in recent years is that they sound way better than they ever had a right to. And that's part of what helped make them go. The Applause was developed for Coast Wholesale and C. Bruno, the distribution branches of Kaman Music. Ovation was sold through the Ovation sales force. So they were two separate competing forces, but they were really the same company. And in '85, it was all rolled together and became one company. But the marketing was done, really, the Applause was going to the wholesale side, and a lot of the dealers that were Ovation dealers, we picked the market, and there would be maybe a few of them that could really do the job. There were a lot of other stores in the area that could not get an Ovation, but they could get an Applause. So that was the marketing strategy, getting for, the Applause was the bottom end, but it would take care of anybody that wanted one. Ovation was the prestige line that went to the more upscale dealers. As Applause popularity grew, the thought was, okay, what's the next step? How do we do more? How can we take it down market again to sell more guitars? Yeah, you want to sell guitars, but how can we get more guitars in the hands of learning musicians to develop the market? Well, you had Ovation, you have Applause. I said, it's obvious. The next one's called the Clap. That didn't go over too well. But I wanted to use, as you see on the Applause, those little umlauts over the P. If you do that over the CLAPP, I said it would work. Marketing still shot it down. But we went down, and how can we further this technology? Well, let's use the SMC material we have for the bowls, for the tops. Now, if we go back to the beginning, in 1972, the first concept was to have a molded top that had the ring and the braces and everything all in one, and it had a photo finish piece of plastic molded into the top, so it was one shot, came out of the mold. The bulb was one thing, came out of the mold. Glue the two together, bang, there it is. That didn't work. The plastic was the wrong type of plastic, nothing would stick to it and all the rest of that. Anyway, so years later, in the later 70s, we said, let's mold the top out of the same bowl material, because that will work and adhesives will stick to it. And so we came up with the Academy, which had molded in braces using the same inner and outer ring technology as the Applause. But the top was molded, one thing, and in a mold, smooth glass mold. It came out, you just choose the color material you wanted. There's the top, it's finished. You don't have to do anything to it, except put it together and make sure you don't spill anything on it. So there it was, this was the Academy. And we made a bunch of these, and these ones sound way better than they ever have a right to. But they, the concept of the Academy was to sell it to school music dealers, and something that they could even use in their rental programs. A lot of Coast Wholesale music on the West Coast used the Suzuki violin methods, and we would buy tonnage of various size violins and sell them to the school music programs. We figured this guitar would go into the same concept, and there's the Conservati violins that we had. There was also a series of horns that we had that would go through C. Bruno in Texas, school music programs, and a lot of those are rental programs. And they'd take them up, and the kids, if they stuck with it, they could buy the instruments. If they didn't, they came back to the store. They cleaned them up and turned them around and rented them again the next year. The thing that's interesting is how the applause technology of advanced manufacturing, let's call it, with the inner and outer rings and the composite materials, and how all that led to the development of the Adamas, which was going on at the same time. And the Adamas really started as the graphite top. Let's take half a second and say Ovation started because of the shortage of Brazilian rosewood. And they're not going to have that anymore, so let's use fiberglass to make guitars. Okay, because that's when Brazilian rosewood was being outlawed and all the rest of that. Okay, when the Adamas came along, there was a threat that, okay, spruce is going to be in short supply. You're not going to have guitar tops anymore. Okay, well, let's make them out of graphite. We're using them for the rotor blades. We're using them in aerospace technology. Let's do that. Okay, so there's the top. Now, how do you put this on a bowl? Well, we use the same technology we're using on applause guitars, putting the rings together. And the thing about the ring is the same as the Adamas ring, is it's more than just holding it all together. It's actually like a little spring that holds to the bowl, and you got the top, but it's flexible, not like a traditional binding in a guitar with wood kerfing and the binding on it. This is actually, we used to make them with a little bit of a hollow. It would come up and then go around, and we have a graphic for that. And the top went into it, and this fits in the bowl, but actually it suspends a little bit. So as the top vibrates, the bowl allows the whole top to vibrate. And that, well, that was a bad chord, but that gives you, that gives you the added output that Adamas has and the extra clarity that they have. They call it plus or minus 4 dB from one end to the other. And you know, Rick Hall talks about that in some of the videos that he does of the Adamas technology that they're selling today. But one technology led to the other, and the bottom of the line begat the top of the line. The first guy that really took to playing the applause was a guy named Dick Curless, who was a Maine musician, country western guy. They call him the Baron of country music. Yeah, and he put down his Martin to play the applause. Now, some of it, he was really good friends with Lou Sear, and Lou Sear is...
Yeah, he was my girlfriend's dad.
Yeah. And he's the one that got you the job.
Yeah.
He said, they're hiring, you make guitars, go down.
Yeah, he gave me the hot tip. Oh, you need a job, you play guitar, you go down there. Okay.
So Dick Curless was the guy that was the first one that did that. And it was sort of towards the end of his career, but he always played the applause. And he says, I like this guitar because it sounds good, and I can play it and I don't break these wires. And man, he used heavy gauge strings, and he used a heavy pick, and he would break strings left and right. You know, his big hit was Tombstone Every Mile.
Yeah.
And here we are 50 years down the road, and Corky asked me, how does it feel to be looking back on it? I never thought we'd be here. I am so glad we are. And what's gone on in those 50 years in guitar making, guitar production, mostly in the music industry, and how Ovation has grown, but also how music has grown. I mean, if you look at the 80s and 90s, Ovation ruled the marketplace. Everybody played Ovation. Not so much now. Everyone's moved on to do different things, but, you know, and looking back at it, as I've said to a couple people, the people buying Ovations now are in their 30s and 40s. And it's great. And they think it's this new guitar that they've discovered, this new technology. They didn't live the first 20 years of Ovation. Oh, it's plastic. You know, it's this, it's that, and all the rest of that. They weren't born then. But now to look back at it and say, you know, God, look at what we did. And you know, we were just talking about, man, I never thought we'd ever be sitting here doing this. Did you?
No.
I mean,
No.
and you know, you look back at the history we have and the history we created. And he's part of creating it because he was the first employee and he was putting all this stuff together and he's lived through it every step of the way. I'll let you tell the rest.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm really proud to be a part of this project. You know, I met a hell of a lot of nice people, and a lot of people have been impressed by these guitars. They're giving them the opportunity to learn and push music forward. I mean, we made guitars in the R&D, and then we made the Adamas for everybody I could think of. All the stars, you know, it's like.
Yeah.
It's,
they all loved them.
I never thought, you know, I would do something like that, you know.
Have that much of an imprint
You know,
on the music industry.
you know, and it to
On
me,
music.
it's people are still catching up with Ovation. You know, I mean, yeah, like you said, the young guys, they look at, oh, look what we found. Well, it was here all along. You know, it's been here a while, but it seems to be doing great. It seems to be like a revival in the Ovation guitar interests.
And that's a good thing.